Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the business news here on MiddayLive on TV3. My name is Alfredo Consent. Now to our first story, minority members of parliament have asked their colleagues in the House to help eliminate the clause on sole sourcing from the Public Procurement Act 2003. The act is currently undergoing review in Parliament, but minority MPs have vehemently opposed the portion on sole sourcing, arguing that it does not promote competitive bidding. Minority Leader Oseche Mensah-Bonsu said since the act came into force, about 80% of government contracts have all been executed under sole sourcing. According to him, this is restricted issuing of government contracts, making it impossible for small companies to compete with the big firms for contracts. Let's go on to the telephone now. Stay with this particular story. Dr. John Gachi is an economist and a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Join us on the telephone. Dr. Gachi, if you can hear me, good afternoon to you, sir. Hello, sir. Good afternoon to you, sir.
I can't hear you. If you can raise your voice.
Okay. Is it better now, sir?
No.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Gachi?
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, the minority leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, is raising issues about the sole sourcing clause in the Public Procurement Act. But why was the clause put in the Act in the first place?
Well, I think there are various reasons for which sole sourcing clause was put in the law. Is to just allow those who implement execution of projects space to execute the project speedily, because there are situations where procurement for certain items that you can only get it from one particular supplier, and there are times to promote speedy execution of projects so that you don't have cost overrun of a project. So I think these are the basic reasons for which the sole sourcing actually inserted in the law. So it's for very good reason.
Okay. Now, the good reason indeed that you talk about, the minority is not seeing through that. They are muting for the sole sourcing clause in the Public Procurement Act 2003 to be scrapped. And could we really do without it as it's being touted by the minority?
Well, I think if you're closer to executives of public institutions who engage in projects, you realize that there are times that they become frustrated because of the procurement process. The only leeway available to them to execute some projects speedily and save a cost for the company, for the institution, is the sole sourcing. So if you scrap the sole sourcing provision, what you mean is that you are likely going to escalate project execution cycle, escalate costs, and then the overall value for money, that is the intention of the procurement law, will be undermined. What I think, in my opinion, is that if we have realized that there are some abuse of the sole sourcing provision, then we should trace how we are going to put stringent measures in place to ensure that that provision is not abused. If you are very close to executives of public institutions or institutions who are mandated to use the procurement law, you will realize that this will not be very, very practicable. So I think the best way is to look at how we can block the loopholes that are allowing people to abuse the process.
Okay, but to the extent that if what the minority leader is saying is anything to go by, about 80% of government contractors being through sole sourcing, that can be described as an excessive dependence of it. If you talk about measures put in place to ensure that there's no abuse, what are those measures that can be adopted?
Well, I think you can put a cap of how many times a particular institution can go for sole sourcing within a certain period of time. That is one of the measures, because even the sole sourcing measure or provision, it's not as if it's a button that executives or implementers of project press and it goes. You must follow a certain process. You must apply to the PPA for approval. So it's not as if it's just in the hands of the executive, they press and it happens. It follows a certain process. So if the frequency is beyond the imagination of those who put the law in place, then they can limit the frequency, because sole sourcing is needed for proper execution of projects, because different projects have different characteristics. That would definitely call for the issue of sole sourcing. So I do not agree that we should totally scrap it. We should study the trend and see what other measures, apart from what I am talking about, to put in place in order to limit it.
Well, Parliament is currently reviewing this particular act. Is this one of those that you expect members of Parliament to consider in the review process?
Well, I don't know what they have considered, but if we consider this emotionally, we may do the wrong thing and come back and complain. Because I do not think that, I think the minority today, they were in power when this law was put in place. It was for very good reason. So they can consult those members of theirs who work in the teams to put the law in place, to actually understand the reasoning behind this before they take a decision on this. So the mere fact that they claim that 80% of government projects were undertaken through sole sourcing should not be the reason why it should be scrapped. We should go back to basics and actually check why we put this in place. And I think that would be the best way forward.
Dr. Gachi, I thank you very much for those fantastic ideas. Grateful, sir. Great. Dr. John Gachi is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Is giving some perspective to this particular story on the minorities' call for the sole sourcing clause to be expunged from the Public Procurement Act. On to some other stories. The second car power ship for Ghana is 70% complete. Now, the 225 megawatts capacity plant, which is expandable up to 450 megawatts, will be delivered by the third quarter of the year.
The Executive Director of Business Development of Car Power, Zeynep Herezi, indicated the company would deliver the second barge on schedule.
We aim to do the same for the second power ship as well, which is expected to be delivered in the beginning of the second half of 2016.
On the company's operations in Ghana, she indicated the availability of skilled manpower is very assuring. She stated Ghana has been chosen as the headquarters for its West Africa operations due to its strategic location and economic importance. The executive director assured the company is committed in providing the country with the lowest cost of energy. Asked if Car Power would take an offer to sell the barges to Ghana after the contract, Zeynep Herezi indicated that would not be in the best interest of the country.
The best operation of power ships would be done by our power ship operation and maintenance, and we are able to maintain that high levels of efficiency.
Zeynep Herezi stated again that Ghana could take advantage of Car Power being a member of the West Africa Power Pool to export power to the sub-region.